All right, I'm spanning the audience. If you are under 18 years old, raise your hand for me. Debbie, put your hand down. All right, so I see we've got 3, 4. How about this? If you're under 18 years old, I need you to come forward here. It's okay. If you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I saw she like ducked down back behind there pretty darn quick. All right. Come on down. Come on down. All the way. Yes, nice. All right. There we go. Because you guys are going to lead us in the absolute most important part of tonight's meeting. It's the Pledge of Allegiance, okay? So here's how it's going to work, guys. I need to come up forward a little bit more. Come up forward a little bit more, okay? In just a sec, we're going to turn around and face the flag. And I know you guys do it every day at school, right? So you're going to cover your heart. And all of these wonderful people behind you are going to be really quiet until they hear you start. And then when you start, they're going to join in, okay? So when we turn around, we're not going to say go. It's going to be up to you. Can you guys do that? Yeah? Oh, you can use your outside voices. It's okay. You ready? All right. Ready? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good job. Fantastic job, guys. Way to go. All right, big smiles. Big smiles. All right, you guys did great. Thank you very much. Yes.
I had to turn around and peek.
He had to turn around and peek, yes. All right, so, yeah. Fantastic. All right, next item that we have up, I've got some awards to give away here.
Hey.
Council, if you will indulge me, I'm actually going to walk down a little bit if you don't mind. All right. So we've got there's one of the things we do here in Colorado every year, which is pretty cool. It's called Cities and Towns Week. And it's an opportunity for municipalities like Parker and areas like us to celebrate cities and towns. A lot of you guys have heard me talk before that the magic really happens at the local level. And celebrating cities and towns and your local municipal government is not only something we should all embrace, but it's a great way for the kids to be involved and learn about their communities. Because unfortunately, civics doesn't seem to be taught as much as it used to be. And it's really important for them to understand how their government works, how their community works. So every year, Colorado Cities and Town Week, it provides an opportunity for municipalities to connect with residents and acknowledging outstanding municipal employees, volunteers, and remind residents about the vital services that we provide to our citizens. This year, Cities and Towns Week was September 10th through the 16th. And one of the things that we do here in Parker is every year we have a contest for the kids. We ask them to color pictures or make pictures about what they like about Parker, what they love about Parker, about their town. And then they submit it, we have a contest, and so tonight we have the winners of our City and Towns contests here. So I'm going to invite up, let's see here, we're going to start off with, this is Kara Kang. Kara, come on down. I'm going to read what Kara wrote. Kara's from Legacy Point Elementary School. Say hi to everybody. Yes. Now, my boys went to Legacy Point as well, and Mrs. Kahn's your teacher, correct? Mrs. Kahn was my boys' teacher as well when they were little. So here's what she wrote. She wrote, I love the town of Parker because I just love the community, fairs, smiles, fairs again, you like fairs a lot, laughs, kindness, and helping people. I really like going to the community events. They are pretty fun, right? Parker is just a great home. The town of Parker is just awesome and fun, and she drew a little smiley face on the bottom. But more importantly, this is her drawing. It says the town of Parker is great because, and she has pictures of community, people, happiness, events, fun, fairs, smiles, laughs, awesome, kindness. That was absolutely fantastic. She won 3rd place. Here is your 3rd place ribbon. And here's your All right, fantastic, fantastic. All right, next up, let's see here if this is Jaden Raines. Yes, there you are. But I got to have lunch with them all too, all the winners, and so this is a pretty cool way to see them again. Jaden got 2nd place. All right, now there's yours. You cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay. My picture is a concert, and this is special to me because it's fun to hear the music and dance along with the crew. You want to dance with us? Let's just do it. You know who's a really good dancer? Councilman Josh Martin. This was my first concert. I would love to say they are awesome. And on the front here is a picture of Discovery Park, right? Right over here, our new Discovery Park, and there's a concert, and it says, "Put your hands up," and everyone in the audience is saying, "Woo." Jake, look at him, everyone put your hands up for Jake. Woo! All right. Maybe I realized when I came into town hall today that when I had lunch with these kids, I asked them, I said, I'll let democracy happen. You guys get to vote on what I'll wear tonight. And I think you all voted that I would wear a bow tie, and I forgot. So I put my lumberjack outfit on instead. So I'm sorry I didn't wear my bow tie tonight, kids. All right, Bella, come on down.
Josh, you got one you got.
All right. This is what Bella wrote. I think the town of Parker is great because of the amount of people that live here and all the buildings and homes. I also think it's great because of how popular it is. And on the front is a beautiful picture of this, looks like downtown Parker. It says Main Street. She even got the Baskin Robbins logo in there, which you can't beat that at all, right? It says elevation 5,900, population 52,000, established 1864. There is a couple of cars. Is that a Jeep? Maybe. If it was blue, it would be my Jeep. But is that you? Little long hair walking next to it? I don't know, there's a little pretty girl walking there, and there's a 5-globe light, and it's a beautiful picture on that. So Bella, here is your first place ribbon, and there is your picture. Fantastic job. Give them all one more round of applause. All right. So next up, we've got our Parker Chamber of Commerce updates. Is Dennis Houston or someone else from the chamber?
He has another meeting.
He has another meeting. What other meeting is there tonight other than this? Come on, man. This is the important stuff.
Previous engagement.
Okay, gotcha. I also heard from Shelley Mango that she is unavailable tonight as well, so there won't be a Downtown Business Alliance update meeting. Or update, so I'm going to cross that off as well. All right, so next up, we've got our public comment, and I know that there's a lot of people here tonight for the Dominion item, and I'm sure that you've seen that the applicant has pulled that for tonight, so that will not be on our consent agenda, so you guys are aware. However, we absolutely love to have people out here, and so I'm going to tell you guys, for y'all who haven't been here before, how public comment works. There's 2 times for public comment tonight. There is general public comment, which is next. And then there's public comment on specific items on our agenda. So for instance, if you're here for one of the other items on our agenda that's not consent agenda, so if you're here for, item 9A or 9E or something like that, there will be public comment on that specific item at that time. The general public comment is for general items for council. There is a 3-minute time limit. If you look up above me here, you can see a red clock that says 3 minutes. I've got one right across the room as well. When it's time, you'll come up. You'll state your name and address for the record, and then the clock starts running. When it gets down to 0, I'm not being rude, but I'm going to thank you, and I'm going to invite the next person up so they can have an opportunity to address council as well. And again, whether it's on general public comment, which is now, or a specific public comment on an item on the agenda, the rules still apply. Now, some of the other rules that are in effect with public comment are this. Aside from the 3 kids who just won their ribbons tonight, we are all adults in the room. We are all entitled to our opinions, and you should be using your God-given right to share your opinion. You will probably hear opinions you agree with. You will probably hear opinions you don't agree with. But we all have our own God-given rights to our opinions, so please respect others' right to share their opinions. So there's going to be no hissing or booing or banging on tables or anything like that, because we're all adults here. Okay, so with that, and the way public comment's going to work, I'm going to open it up here at 7:08. Public comment is going to be for 30 minutes. If we get through the 30 minutes and there's still people wanting general public comment, we'll reopen it after we've gone through our agenda. Okay, so you can sit tight and hang tight for that if you'd like. Since we have so many people in the room, the best way to do it is we're going to start on one side of the room. We're going to be gentlemen and allow ladies first. We'll start on the back rows and move forward, move to this section, move to this section, and move to this section. So I'm going to open up public comment at 7:09 PM. So if there's anyone in this section, starting in the back row, now's your time. Moving forward, moving forward. I see a bearded man waving. No, I'm just kidding. He's our tech guy in case everything breaks. So always trust the guy with the beard when technology breaks. Is that right? No, not usually. Okay, we'll move over to this center for. Okay, come on down. All right. Name and address for the record, please.
Turin Castro Arancibia.
Whoa, that's a name. Go ahead and spell that last name for me.
Castro hyphen Arencibia.
Okay, and it was Taryn, right?
Turin, Tarynn.
Okay, perfect. All right, and your address, please.
12392 Chateau Creek Court, Parker.
Okay.
Thank you guys for allowing me to speak today. I just have moved recently from Portland, Oregon, and a recent graduate of the Civic Academy, so I know how much you guys take the citizens' ideas and thoughts into account. So I would just like to urge council and the planning committee to have 0 extensions offered for the site plan for Stroh Ranch coming forward. No exceptions, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, anybody else in this front section here? No? Okay, then we're going to move to from Tom, who's our video guy. Everyone turn around, look at Tom, and he's going to wave to you. Tom's our video guy. Everyone from Tom to your right, my left, starting in the back row. Next row up. Next row up. And this last one's a tough one because there's a big old podium in front of me and I can't see if there's anybody behind it. So next row up, front row.
Joe, he means you.
Is anybody? Oh, anybody. Yes, sir. But I'm just saying if you're just, if there's a lady in your row, be a gentleman, let the lady go up first. But if you're the only one, yeah, come on up. Name and address for the record, please.
Hey, Mike. Dave Biggins, 12371 Chateau Creek Court. I'm Parker, 80134.
Thank you, sir.
I also oppose any extension to the Dominion project. And I'm here to remind you that that is not our kind of place. Debbie, I've bought 2 houses from you, had a great experience. That is not the Parker that you sold me. Mike, you and I have done sports with our kids, and I'll say heck yes to the kicker on the team. But again, I'm here to remind you that that is not our kind of place. The road cannot handle that much traffic. The quality of life is going down with the addition of that many houses in that small of a project. So I appreciate your time, but I do want to also encourage you to no extensions, please.
Thank you very much. All right. Anyone else in that first row? Let's go ahead and keep it and roll through, guys. Anybody else in that front row want to come forward? I know it sounds like I'm being a hard butt on it, and I apologize, but if I can't have the people booing and hissing, I also can't have the people cheering and clapping. We just got to roll through them. So if there's no one else in that front row, we're going to move into the right side here in the back row. Come on down, ladies first. Just be careful of the step as you come down. I say that every time, and I swear I've tripped and fallen on that step at least 3 times, so. All right. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Lisa Kuhn. Address is 19026 East Ticock Drive.
Okay.
And I did want to say I oppose any extension given to Dominium. Most of us here in this room have been following the process the entire time. And not only do I oppose for the reasons everyone else does, the road, the Building 8, all the situation. In our open forum here in November of 17, I did some research on Dominium themselves, and I listened to all the presentations. I listened to, the town of Parker saying that'd be great, and they were going to have a pool and it'd be a nice community. And then I found a lawsuit, and I mentioned it on November 4th. I think it was Miss Nestor who said, kind of like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. But I have the lawsuit. It's Dominium. Not only should they not be allowed a second chance, they shouldn't have been considered in the first place. In this lawsuit I understand the Parker commissioners here. Am I saying that right? Who is it? Who is the planning commissioner?
Planning commissioner's not here. This is a council meeting, so you're here to address council.
Well, I have this lawsuit, and because there are kids under the age of 18, I won't read about the things that happened to 4 children held at knife point by a sexual predator, and Dominium had to pay $5 million out in a lawsuit. And I sent this lawsuit to the Parker Planning Commission, to you, Mr. Wade, the town council, and I asked, December 23rd of 17, my biggest question for all of you on the Planning Commission and the Town Council is who is responsible for proposed projects meeting code? Who has a responsibility to determine if the projects are fit for the town and its long-term goals? It's going to be almost the anniversary of this email. I got no response. Not, hey, crazy lady, we already looked at that. Not, thanks, it's been received. I got 0 response from anyone in the town of Parker. So I'm pretty frustrated. I have a copy of this lawsuit, again, if anyone wants to see it. And in November of 17, my concern was, I said, we know it's zoned for multifamily. Let's look at somebody else besides Dominium because of this. And I got 0 response. So I'm tired of, we're all here for a reason. We know what's going to happen. We know it's multifamily, but you would really put not only is it unprecedented to put it in the middle of a neighborhood, but this is who we want to put in. I have a copy of this, if anyone would like to see it again. Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right, next up in the back row, is there anyone else on that back row who'd like to come up? Come on down. Name and address for the record, please. It's
Hi,
a trick.
my
It's a
name's
trick
Mike.
microphone. You gotta.
A little unsteady.
There you go.
Mike Kuhn, I live at 19026 East Hickok Drive. Husband. Hi.
I figured there weren't 2 coons that just
Yeah.
happened. I was gonna be like,
Yeah.
hey, did you meet her?
Yeah,
Would
right.
you like to?
So I too oppose any extension for this project. And so, not to be redundant, one concern I have is even the need. I don't know that it's been addressed. I don't think anyone opposes, once it's demonstrated, a need for affordable housing. I haven't seen a study, haven't seen any feedback from the council or from the planning commission, planning department, that there's even a need. Took it upon myself to go to the one that is in Parker that allows for affordable housing. I don't recall the name. Does anyone know the name of that? I'm sorry? Hilltop. They allow up to 80% to be low income. They can't fill it. They only have about 25% filled with low income. So to have a shoddy builder, a builder that has a tough reputation, be allowed affordable housing in this development, I think it's your responsibility as town council to look at antiquated laws. All we hear is, it meets, Stroh Ranch allows for multifamily. That's great, but it's not the right type of multifamily in that neighborhood. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. All right, last row still? Anyone else from that last row? All right, let's move up. Are you just letting them in? Okay, move up 1 row. Okay, move up to the next row. Okay, move up to the front row of that section. You're looking around at each other like, you're gonna go up, you're gonna move, you're gonna move? No? All right, then let's go ahead and come back to this back section here, this section here. Back row. Next row up. Joy, come on down. Name and address for the record, please.
Joy Overbeck, 19692 East Man Creek Drive in Parker. There are more than 1 lawsuits against this builder, and some of them have to do with Americans for Disability Act. violations and other violations, and if you look it up, there are 5 or 6 lawsuits. When I last checked, which was probably 6 or 8 months ago. So who knows, they have projects like this all over the country. The other thing is they constantly tell us that this project is for our teachers and our firefighters and our police. I checked this out, the income levels are much too low to allow, for instance, a beginning firefighter in Parker makes $70,000. No, right out of fire school, right out of fire. No, there's a help wanted on their site for
Holy cow, I need to
$70,000.
become a firefighter.
You
That's
probably
crazy.
should, Mr. Wade.
Wow.
Yes. The other thing is the procedure here. I don't understand why the Director of Development, however competent he may be, can possibly be entrusted with the responsibility in a democracy where we elect you people to make decisions. One person is entrusted actually with the responsibility of making the decision originally. He could have not given the Planning Commission that decision. One hireling of this body could have made a decision according to your town code to allow this project without any hearings except for this kind of public hearing, but on his own. And now he's entitled to make a decision about whether or not an extension of 90 days should be granted. I don't see how this kind of a code, this kind of a arrangement, this kind of a decision-making process has any place in a democracy. In a town where we elect you guys to make decisions. Also, the original decision, in my opinion, was wrong because it was made by unelected officials who are not responsible to the citizens of this community. If there's anything that's wrong, it's the citizens of this community not being able to entrust their elected officials with these kinds of very, very profound decisions. So I would urge Mr. Fusa, who is I probably mispronounced his name.
No, you got it right.
Who is a paid employee of the town council in the town, I would urge him not to grant this 90-day extension. As I say, I don't think it's a legitimate, it's not his fault, but I don't think it's a legitimate duty of a person who was hired by the town council. And I'd say no to the 90-day extension. They've had enough time. We don't want them. We don't want 600 new people, and it would be 600 new people because most of the apartments are 3-bedroom and 2-bedroom. Most of the 204 apartments. 600 new people and 400 parking spaces on 11 acres in the middle of a peaceful 30-year-old established community.
Thanks, Joy.
Wrong.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right, next up in that same aisle. George, you want to come down? No? Anyone else? Okay, next aisle up. Oh, we got one, all right. Name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Linda Kubley. I actually live in Auburn Hills, but I own a property in Iron Ranch, or Ironstone, which is 12822 Ironstone Way.
Okay.
And I'm just here to oppose any extension to Dominion because of the additional road maintenance and upkeep that would probably take place if they were to build and use our road. We have very limited RTD service there, which I think for people that are under low income housing would be, attracted to bus service, which we don't offer there. And I'm also concerned about the additional crime and trash problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. Anyone else on that row? All right. Come on, okay. I was looking in this first side. No, you're good, you're good.
We're trying to honor the ladies first.
That's, I know, I was checking, there's a grouping of ladies up front here that I wasn't sure if they wanted to come up or not.
Let them go first.
Anyone in those first 2 rows? If not, sir, it's yours.
Thank you. My name is Bill.
Go ahead and do it over at the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. My old ears, I can't hear unless it's through them.
My name is Bill Short. I am legal counsel for Ironstone Condominiums and Stroh Ranch Development. My business address is 555 Zhang Street in Lakewood. The word of the night is irregularity. I think there was, and I'm here, even though it's not technically before you, it's actually before Mr. Fusa. He's not here, so we're just only hoping that he can pass on or look at the comments from the video of what people are saying tonight to state the opposition of the 2 associations to the request for the extension. The word of the night is irregularities. I believe there's irregularities in the underlying documents. I think what is shown is it is a private road. Ironstone Road is very narrow. I think there's no basis for the finding that they made that there's a connection to public roads. I think there was irregularities in the Planning Commission's decision because they didn't decide some things that they needed to decide, and there was no basis to decide otherwise. I think there was irregularities in the judge's decision because she thinks there's implicit findings that just are not there. And then I was called to task to come tonight because all of a sudden something showed up on the agenda rather precipitously, but then was withdrawn, and there wasn't 15 days public notice, and I think that's a concern. I think that's why a lot of the people are here tonight. Then it got withdrawn at the last minute, understood. It's still pending before Mr. Fusa. The associations are considering what their legal rights and options are at this point. Again, I think there's quite a bit of opposition. I think the people have stated their positions quite articulately. We hope that you and Mr. Fusa will listen to those and not grant any extensions, whether it's him or perhaps you at some other time, although I don't think that should occur. Thank you very much, and I thought that was a wonderful ceremony with the children beforehand. Thank you.
Isn't that
very much.
great? Thanks,
Yeah.
Bill. Appreciate it. All right. Anyone else in this front section? Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and move to the back row, like the back against the wall, and I'm just gonna kind of sweep. If you see me pointing at you and you wanna come on down, then move. Oh. Just watch your step, RJ.
It's like having my wife here.
All right. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is RJ O'Connor. My address is 19085 East Oak Creek Place in Parker. I've been trying to find the right things to say since Friday when we had the bomb dropped in our lap of this agenda item, which now, within hours of your meeting, has been removed. I think the concerns of whether the developer was given a fair shake, they got their fair shake. They got their opportunity in front of the planning department. Everything got vetted through that process. It went through the Planning Commission, and whether I agree with what the Planning Commission came up with or not is irrelevant because the decision was made. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Was it wrong? Commissioner Ruth Ann Nelson did a fantastic job of slicing apart town code on what the requirements are for a road to be considered a public road, to be considered a second access point to this property. Ironstone Way never did, never will, and in the future, if this development happens, will meet the town criteria as laid out. Planning Commissioner Levy took apart the traffic study that was done. She did it surgically and exposed to everybody the flaws that traffic study that traffic study had. Traffic study doesn't take into account the fact that J. Morgan Boulevard in the not-so-distant future is going to be extended beyond Stroh Road down into the northwest part of the Pinery, adding traffic into that area. All of these things came up, and yet nobody thought that it was a problem in meeting the criteria to build this. Now we're at the point where they want an extension. I get why they want an extension. I suppose if I were in their shoes, I'd do the same thing too. But if it's because the town is concerned that Dominium isn't getting a fair shake, then that's simply not true, and there's a judge's decision to help affirm to them that what the town did may have been within their rights. But as for what the reality is on the ground, the project was flawed. It is flawed. There's nothing that will fix it, not even an additional 90 days. And with that, I ask that the planning director say no to this extension, and we be done with this.
Okay. Thank you very much, RJ. Appreciate it. All right, we finished right at about a lane, so I'm going to continue to sweep over in that back, far back, far back, far back. Oh, come on down. Really be careful on that step right there, because that's the real doozer.
Oh, she's got a boot on, too.
Oh. All right. There you go. All right. Name and address for the record, please.
Wendy Faust, 12566 South Moose Creek Court, Parker.
Okay.
What I would like to propose is a solution if Dominion is not used. I have suggested and mentioned to several people in Stroh Ranch that we make it a 55-plus community. And I have not heard one person say, oh, I don't want that. They're like, well, that makes sense, because we also need that type of a community in Parker. A lot of people have said, Mom and Dad want to move here, but there's no place for them to go that they can afford. So as a solution, I suggest that we make it like a Victorian style, just like Legends is across the street, and make it a 55-plus community. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Back row against the wall, the gentleman with the beard? No? All right. Coming across. Coming across. Coming across. Oh, ladies first. Let her go first, Dwayne. All right. Watch your step there. Name and address for the record, please.
I'm Claire Patzik. Sorry, I get really nervous.
Don't be nervous. It's all good.
My address is 12810 South Crazy Horse Court.
Okay.
I've only lived there for about a year and a half, but quickly after my husband and I bought our house, we did get the notice that Dominion was a potential, and I would like you guys, or urge you guys to please not give this an extension. I overlook J. Morgan, and I overlook the property that Dominion's going to be on, and I feel like it's going to totally change the community. I live on a street that I've been told was the original in the Legends in Stroh Ranch, and I feel like a lot of my neighbors who have lived there the entire time since the community was built, some of them built their own houses, and during the planning process had that area in mind of looking out onto that open space. And I know it's not going to stay an open space forever. We are under no idea of that ever being the case, but I feel like this community is not going to be a good idea for this area, and I think it's only going to cause congestion, especially on J. Morgan, which I know I'm biased because I overlook that road and I overlook the property, but I really feel strongly about this, that this is not the proper use of this space, and I really urge you guys to not give this an extension. So, thank you.
Thank you, Claire. And hey, you never, ever, ever have to be worried about sharing your opinion or being nervous talking up here, okay? Seriously, it's all good. All right, Dwayne, you want to come on down? Now, you have to be nervous.
No,
Oh, I'm
not.
just, name and address for the record, please.
Dwayne Heitman, 18624 Main Street, Parker, 80134.
Okay.
I'm not going to talk about Dominion. I am going to thank Josh Martin and Amy Holland for their service, because I'm pretty sure we're almost done. Mr.
17th.
Okay.
Not that we're
Josh can
counting.
pull out his phone and tell you to the second how many.
I know,
how much
I've
time he
seen
has
that.
left.
And I can't, mine's behind his like 2 hours, because I was going to come in here with what it was to the second. But I just want to say thank you for them for their service. They've led a great town council with you. I wanted to thank you for the tree lighting on Friday night. I think it's a great community thing that we all get together and watch you light the tree, to see almost all the town council there. The camaraderie, the city, Friday and Saturday night with the carriage rides was awesome, with the wine walk. And I just want to say thank you to them too for their service, and to wish the new incoming ones the best of luck.
All right. And hey, Dwayne, just to clarify one thing, just in all fairness, I love taking the compliments, thank you, but the wine walk and all that is the Parker Chamber of Commerce. So we can thank them for putting that on. So thanks, appreciate it. All right, so back wall, I know Mr. Rogers isn't going to come up, and then, all right, we hit the corner there. All right, so we're going to go ahead and close general public comment at 7:33 p.m. Going to go ahead and move on to reports, items, and comments from mayor and council. How about Mr. Martin? We start with you.
Interestingly, I don't really have anything to say.
Yeah, all righty. Let's go ahead and, Amy.
I have nothing to add this evening.
Seriously, holy cow, man. Go buy a lottery ticket. Neither of you?
What?
The pace, the
She'll let
August
you,
party.
she'll let you do it. All right, Josh
The girls?
Rivero.
Nothing, it gets busy this week and next week, so.
Okay. Renee?
Debbie and I had our liaison meetings with HR and Parks and Rec, and Debbie's going to talk about that more.
There we go. The Debbie Show, apparently.
Buck has been passed.
Yes.
No problem. Our turkey trot 5K that.
That you ran?
Yes. No, I didn't so that it would give more room for other people.
That's right. That is so gracious of you. You're just a giver.
It was. There were 2,000 participants. It's the largest turkey trot that we've had so far. The ages range from under 1, who obviously was in a stroller, to 85. I believe, if I've got this right, there were 23 states represented in 95 different cities. So obviously, a lot of people came to see their families and loved ones here in Parker from all over. And the largest team member was a family group of 21 people. Now, I don't know how you get 21 of your family people and y'all are running in a race and there's no mishaps or conflicts, but there wasn't. Everything went wonderfully. It just keeps growing every year. This year they did something a little, Renee, would you like to model this? They did something a little bit different. Instead of a T-shirt, they.
You know what those are? For runners?
We were told that the runners were, of course I know, I'm a runner. What are you talking about?
You can use it for multiple things, a headband, a face mask.
Face mask, scarves. So it was well received, but there were folks that would like to have T-shirts back. So it just grows every year. It's our largest 5K. We do several that I also let people.
Other people run?
Other people run, and I don't clog up the system. We had a
You can use
pace-
it as a beard tie?
Oh, that's true.
Oh, that is not.
That is disgusting. That is wrong. I don't know where, I don't know whose it
have it
was.
now.
I don't think I'll file this in pieces I'll miss.
No.
So, I went by the Sip and Shop over the weekend on Saturday. It seemed, we had perfect weather. It seemed, apparently was a great success. And last Tuesday, we had, I think it was Tuesday, Elaine, at Pace, we had our
Holiday.
our holiday party there and talked about what upcoming events that would be occurring at the Pace Center. And I think that is all.
Okay, Mr. Dyak.
Wow. Back and cleanup.
Almost. He pulled an audible. He needs to have something to say. Go ahead.
Councilmember Holland, Councilmember Lewis, and myself attended the Parker Arts Strategic Plan. It was a rollout of our 5-year plan. So well attended. We thanked everyone who participated. There were a number of citizens, a lot of citizens that helped us out, so we greatly appreciate that. Also did a few Dr. Cog things, Denver Regional Council of Governments. I sit on the executive board. The Accountable Health Communities, it's a $4.5 million grant for Medicare and Medicaid patients, trying to bridge the gap between medical service and community service. Once you roll out of a hospital, where do you go? People get overwhelmed. They don't know what's out there. So this grant is trying to make a connection between those two people, or those two entities. Also had a board meeting where we blessed the regional projects, which were $34 million. One of note that's close to us is the E470 or High Plains Trail. Arapahoe County put in a request for $2 million to help build that. That got approved, so hopefully that'll start coming more to fruition, where the trail on the east side of Parker Road connects over to Preservation Park and 17 Mile Park in Arapahoe County to create connectivity. So did that, and all the phone calls and meetings that were associated with that.
Word up. Your turn.
Tonight, on consent agenda, the next action, we're going to be passing a resolution in favor of Colorado Gives Day, and especially Give Where You Live, sponsored by the Douglas County Foundation. Colorado Gives Day is a great opportunity for people. They want to give, they want to be charitable in December, and this is an opportunity where the state steps up, and we have a list of charities that we know they spend their money wisely, and it's a great opportunity, clearinghouse, if you will. So Douglas County Foundation has created a list of local organizations that could use your dollars. Last year, $8 million left, or $8 million was given by Douglas County. $6 million of those $8 million left the county. So $2 million stayed in the county. That's wonderful, but there are incredible organizations. Here in Parker, we have the Parker Task Force, we have the Parker Senior Center, we have Praying Hands Ranch, we have Rosie's Ranch. Outstanding organizations that do wonderful things in our community. So I would just ask, if you're going to give tomorrow, please look local first and give where you live. Thank you.
And to that point, to add in terms of that with Colorado Gives Day, tomorrow, if you're available, you're not doing anything, head on down to the Pace Center tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. Because one of the things that we've set up is that we've invited a lot of these nonprofits and organizations to come down, so you guys can come down and meet them and find out who they are and how you can support them locally. Here's an interesting fact for you. There are more 501c3 nonprofits in Douglas County than any other county in the nation. So if you have a cause, you have something that you believe in, chances are there's a local nonprofit that serves those needs. So whether it's, Inspire Theater with You Like Theater Performances, or the Rowan Tree Foundation, which is a local woman who started a foundation that helps parents who have lost a child from in utero to senior citizen in terms of therapies, all the way down. Isn't there one that was like a bird nonprofit that they used to donate
Bird
stuff?
education, yeah.
Bird education.
Birds of Prey.
Anything that you can imagine, there's a nonprofit. So if you are so inclined to give on Colorado Gives Day, please try to keep that charitable contributions as close to home. For me, my reports, I had a very, very busy weekend this weekend. I was helped Cimarron Middle School with their Parade of Trees. I was the MC for that, for their fundraiser on Saturday. I was also the narrator for the Parker Symphony Orchestra, who's also a nonprofit organization, with their concert on Saturday. And then I was also the narrator for the Parker Symphony Orchestra and Parker Chorale, another nonprofit organization, at their concerts on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, in addition to everything else. So that's kind of what I've got. All right, so now we're going to move on to item number 7, which is our consent agenda. And again, council, just as a reminder, the applicant has asked to have item B withdrawn, so there is no item B on our consent agenda. So I would entertain further discussion or a motion on consent agenda items 7A through 7E, with the exception of 7B, which was withdrawn by the applicant.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Josh Martin and a second by Amy. Please vote. And everything blows up. There we go. Motion passes unanimously. All right, next item on our agenda is item number 8, public hearings. We have 8A, which is a public hearing for Norton property annexation and zoning. There are 4 pieces to this hearing. I'm going to go ahead and read them all in. We're going to have one presentation for all 4, and then council, you guys can debate and move on those 4 items individually. So again, this is Norton property annexation and zoning. Item number 8A1 is resolution number 18-090. This is a resolution to set forth town council's finding of fact and conclusions as to the eligibility of the Norton property annexation into the town of Parker. Item number 2 is ordinance number 2.265 on second reading. This is a bill for an ordinance approving and accomplishing the annexation of contiguous unincorporated territory known as the Norton property in Douglas County. Item number 3, which is ordinance number 3.339 on second reading. This is a bill for an ordinance zoning certain property within the town of Parker, Colorado, known as the Norton property, to modified commercial district and modified multifamily district pursuant to the Town of Parker Land Development Ordinance, and amending the zoning ordinance and map to conform therewith. And item number 4, which is the annexation agreement. Now, Stacy, you're in the hot seat there, so you're gonna be rolling with us?
Yes, this is me.
All right, it's all yours.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and council members. So this is a proposal to annex and zone approximately 9.46 acres of land into the town of Parker for commercial and multifamily uses. This property has been posted and public notice requirements have been satisfied. So the property is located on the northeast corner of Somerset Lane and Pine Drive, just north of the new Douglas County Library and the Pine Curve property. The Town Council approved an agreement for possession and use with the property owner in 2016. This agreement allowed for the dedication and construction of Somerset Lane on the applicant's property in return for annexation and zoning into the town of Parker. 3 amendments were subsequently approved between June of 2017 and June of 2018 to extend this agreement. The applicant has submitted this zoning application in connection with the request for annexation of the subject property. The zoning request includes 2 existing lots. Zoning designations provide a mix of commercial and residential uses in close proximity to Parker's downtown core as recommended by the 2035 Master Plan and the Main Street Master Plan. The 2 proposed lots total approximately 9.46 acres. The property closest to Pine Drive, which is the west property, is approximately 3.16 acres and will be zoned modified commercial. The modified commercial zone district will allow for retail and service uses as well as a gas station convenience store. The back property, or the east property, is approximately 6.3 acres and will be zoned for modified multifamily development. The modified multifamily zoning will allow for residential development of anywhere between 5 to 20 units per acre. Multifamily residential is permitted, but must be horizontally attached. This means that multifamily residential will not be stacked and will look more like a townhome or a brownstone. The zoning includes a 65-foot buffer along the eastern property line to help buffer the proposed development from the existing residential homes. In addition, a maximum height limit has been added that restricts building heights to 15 feet above the elevation plane of Pikeview Lane. Pikeview Lane is the road that's located just to the east within the existing residential subdivision. The 65-foot buffer and the maximum height limitation were added to help preserve the quality and feel of the existing single-family homes located to the east. The general land use map within the Parker 2035 Master Plan identifies the Norton property as being within the eastern downtown gateway. The Norton property is represented by a blue rectangle in the upper right-hand corner. This designation calls for uses that transition from the downtown core to the suburban residential uses to the east. Appropriate uses include higher density residential, along with retail, services, office, and gathering spaces. The property was also included within the Main Street Master Plan. It is identified within as future mixed-use development. The Main Street Master Plan recommends guiding development in a direction that aligns with the evolving urban vision of the town. Again, the Norton property is shown here as a blue rectangle in the upper right-hand corner. The proposed zoning for the property has been evaluated against the recommendations of the Parker Master Plan. It has been determined that the proposed zoning is consistent with the goals of this plan. So on November 8th, 2018, the Planning Commission held a public hearing concerning this application. During the public hearing, several people spoke in opposition of the application with concerns over traffic, height, and the proposed zoning as not being appropriate for the property. After the public comment, the Planning Commission recommended approval with a vote of 6-1 with the following 2 conditions. The first condition reads, reduce the permitted height plane to 0 feet above the center line of Pikeview Lane and allow for 15 feet above the center line of Pikeview Lane as a use by special review. The second condition reads, remove gas station convenience store as a use by right and allow as a use by special review. In regards to the first condition, the property slopes from the existing residential homes on the east down to Pine Drive. During review of the application, staff determined that 15 feet above the center line of Pikeview Lane was sufficient to protect at least a second-story view for the existing residential homes while creating flexibility for a developer to accommodate the slope on the property. In regards to the second condition, a use by special review requires a public hearing before the Planning Commission and Town Council to review a proposed use against 9 criteria. The 9 criteria for a use by special review is substantially similar to the 9 criteria used for rezonings. During the process to create the zoning, staff evaluated the proposed uses against the 9 criteria for rezonings. These criteria evaluate the proposed uses against the master plan as well as the area in which it is proposed. Staff has determined that the 9 criteria for rezonings have been satisfied. Therefore, it is unlikely that requiring an additional process would result in a different determination. So staff has reviewed the proposal and has determined that the project is consistent with the 2035 Master Plan and the Main Street Master Plan. Utility providers have confirmed capacity and availability. The project satisfies the 9 criteria of approval required by the Land Development Ordinance to rezone the property as outlined within the staff report. So therefore, staff recommends that the town council approve the Norton property annexation and zoning request as outlined within the staff report. This concludes staff's presentation. The applicant has a representative here tonight. His name is Tomas Visky-Honka.
All right, let's ask,
available for any questions.
Tomas, before you come down and before I try to butcher your last name, council, do you have any questions for Stacy?
Not at this time.
All right, Tomas, if you could come on down for us, and I would ask name and address for the record, please.
May it please the council, my name is Tomas Visky-Honka. It's usual spelling.
But just like it sounds.
All right, you win. Right, that was
My office address is in Denver, 501 South Cherry Street, 1060, the unit, in Denver, 80246.
Okay.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to make a brief presentation, although I doubt that I could improve anything on what Stacy had so eloquently stated here. Therefore, I'm not going to belabor that point and reiterate it, except for the fact that the presentation here, I think I'm too loud here.
You're fine.
Okay. Except that the application here satisfies the master plans and the applicable zoning regulations. That being said, what I'd like to give to you is a little historical background, how this whole thing came about, why I am here, besides the fact that I helped the Nortons to put together the package of application here. Back in 2016, the town of Parker wanted to have a driveway which involved the Norton's properties south side, on the west side. They approached the Nortons. They haven't thought about annexation at that time. It was not an issue. They approached the Nortons and they said, you know, we need your property there, at least a portion of it, the front part of it, need to build a road which became now known as a Somerset Lane. It has been built, and the Nortons graciously dedicated their property free, entirely free, in exchange for some bargained positions, which you basically heard today, but in a far more reduced fashion than it was agreed upon back in 2016. Originally, the Nortons were going to get a multi-family housing allowance for the east side of the property, that's 6 plus acres, and the commercial zoning for the front of the property, which is 3 some acres in the front. And then later on, as the agreement was, and the whole Somerset Lane dedication was premised on that agreement, also the drainage pond and so on, that they could drain the property on the city's withholding pond. Back in 2017 and 18, the requirements changed, and the town approached the Norton saying that, you know, we have to reduce the concessions what we made for the annexation, and now we are offering you single-family attached zoning for the property for the west, for the east side, and the commercial zoning would remain, which included, among other things, the gas station with or without a convenience store as a matter of right. And then Norton said, well, you know, it will reduce our property value by not being able to develop the east half of it for the residential that well. But the town explained that it's a necessity, it's for a public good. And then Norton said, fine, we are going to do that, and why don't we do that? So we ultimately agreed on everything with the town, and that's how the petition for the annexation and the annexation agreement came about. I don't even tell you the ordeal going through all the necessary background work, what it entailed, getting the banks approve and release their rights to consent and subordinate to the town's interest, because there are quite a few banks which hold a deed of trust on the property. And it was an incredible chore to explain to them that, listen, we are asking you for partial releases for this annexation. And they said, all right, what are we going to get in return? And I told them, well, you know, I will thank you for that, but other than that, nothing else. Well, that didn't quite go down well with them. And I was explaining, you know, the property value may increase. They said, we don't need an increased property value. We already have a good equity to debt ratio there. Finally, they granted it, but they wanted to review the agreement what we have struck with the town, They reviewed it and they said, with those conditions, we agree. Now, if the new conditions, further restrictions will come into play, that the gas station and the convenience store, with or without, will be by special review, not as of right, immediately it would invalidate the consent and subordination agreement. But not only the subordination agreement, but the Parker Water and Sanitation District agreed that admission to the northern properties to the Parker Water and Sanitation District. They also did that if I provide them with partial releases of water and well rights. And they also made it condition on the agreements what we had. So if these restrictions will come into play, all the agreements what I secured are gone, the banks will not renegotiate it, and therefore a whole issue will become moot, and the town's obligation to negotiate these matters in good faith will be an impossible task to conduct. Now, this is the background. It will harm nobody if these extra restrictions will not be entered. But what will the town and the citizens gain? The picture, the aerial photograph showed the property, the eastern half of it, where there is practically nothing there but dust. It's pasture. It will be developed. It will be beautified, and to the gratification of the whole town and the citizenry. And not only that, but there is a 65-foot buffer zone between the development to the east of it and the new development, if there ever will be a new development on a northern property. 35 foot of the 65 will be park, beautified by parks. So there is everything to gain by this, by the approval of this petition, and there is nothing to lose. I recognize, and I heard that back on November 8th, there were objections to the application. It is regretful. Progress often draws objections. But as long as the progress is reasonable and for everybody's benefit, I would urge you to please accept the application. And thank you again for the opportunity to be heard.
Thank you very much, Tomas. Council, do you have any questions for Tomas before we move?
Not yet.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, we're going to go ahead and open it up for public comment at 7:55 p.m. Same rules as before, except I'm not going to go section to section just because there's not as many people here, but you see the clock above me. We got a 3-minute time limit. Come on down if you'd like to address council. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. I'm Charlie Caudill, and I live at 20056 Somerset Court, across the street from where we're talking about.
Okay.
And before I get started, I just want to say, I know every one of you. I've seen you having lunch at Tailgate or, other places. I know how much you guys care about this city, as I do. And we love this city, and we want it to be great. And by the way, for the people leaving, thank you for your service. For the people that are going to stay, well, good luck.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Okay. I look out over there, and I would like to extend an invitation for all the city council, the planning commission, who I deeply disagree with. I would like all members and you as the staff to come and visit me, and I will cook breakfast or I will cook dinner. And let's sit out in front and watch the people spending 65 to 75 miles an hour blowing down Pine on their way to Main Street. The traffic is ridiculous. With this new enclosure, they're going to put a red light there. That's supposed to make things better. How many of you have been at the top of Lincoln driving down Pine? It's a track meet. Nobody goes fast. All of a sudden, we're going to have lights going yellow and people blowing through them. I've had 4 wrecks in the 2 years I've lived there at that corner. It's a monstrosity. And with all due respect to that gentleman, how many of you live there? How many of you live there? How many of you live there? Nobody that I've talked to on this council or the planning commission lives there. Come try it out for yourself. And the Norton property, and look, we're pro-growth. We're pro-sensible growth. All of my neighbors in our town are very upset. You come down at rush hour, if there's a light there, people are going to go right on Somerset, and they're going to go all the way down to Victoria, come around the water park to try to get back onto Main Street. It's going to be very dangerous. This is not a good idea. The planning commission said, well, if you want to build a gas station, you have to come back and do a hearing. And that was supposed to satisfy everybody. No, because once money goes and the gas station people say, we'll build this, they're going to build it, and you guys are going to rubber stamp it because it's money and it's growth. But that growth for this property is just not right. And you have the entire town and country community of 500 units who vote. We don't want this to happen. We think it's a bad idea. The Planning Commission was wrong. It should stay agriculture and stay over there and not bring more townhouses and gas stations along our road so we become another Parker Road. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, next up. Come on down. I know the lanes aren't very wide around there, so I apologize for that. Name and address for the record, please.
Debbie Miller, 20026 Somerset Court. And I've been a member of the community for over 10 years, and I have grown used to hearing quiet over there. I can remember hearing roosters, and I don't want to leave my window open at night and hear cars and a gas station and traffic zipping by till all hours because it just doesn't belong in that area. I can see that area right from my window, and I want to keep looking out there and seeing something beautiful instead of a bunch of, people zipping by and stopping and slamming car doors all the time. I really feel like it will be very bad for all of our property values in our town and country village home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, next up. Careful there, Cheryl. All right.
That's what happens when you have bad knees, right? So Cheryl Pogue, 20845 East Sheffield Place. I represent a different community on this issue. I understand that development will occur. That's not the issue. I do think that the single family with a 2-story limit is appropriate for that site. What is not appropriate is the commercial on the front end. That is not an area that should have commercial. It is a residential area, it's a school area, it's a church area. It's not a commercial type property. And they're right, putting a gas station in there, you're inviting traffic through there all hours of the day and night. And I don't think that's what we want to do to the citizens that surround that area. So with that in mind, I understand the developer is kind of sunk on this thing. He wants to do what he wants to do, but it is the wrong location for commercial, and that's all I can add.
Okay, thank you very much, Cheryl. Next up, come on down. You were hiding behind the podium.
You didn't see me, did you?
I'm not going to make any jokes, Joe, about height or anything like that.
Don't make me go get my little booster stick.
I actually know how good of a baseball player you are. I'm more worried about you going and getting a baseball bat and cracking me upside the
I
head.
would never do that, especially with all the police.
Name and address for the record, please.
Joseph Sandoval. My address is 10753 Pikeview Lane, Parker, Colorado. I'm also a business owner in downtown Parker. And I'm here to speak specifically to the one lot, or the couple of lots that are really going to be infringed upon by the eastern part of the development. Now, it's great to hear that these are going to be 1 or 2 stories. The real issue I've got, because we've been working on this, Mike, for 10 plus years, especially on the Pine Curve side. So this is not new to a lot of us that live along that whole development line there. We had worked 10 years ago with town council and planning commission back in those days to get these things called givens. Apparently they're not givens anymore. But a lot of things were worked on between the town and the Parker Vista development, and actually even Raleigh Downs was concerned about this. But all of it had to do with site requirements and height requirements for everything then called Pine Curve. Now as it's being annexed, I'm assuming this is also going to be part of that same Pine Curve. My real concern, and the concern of our neighbors all just a little south of me, is that even though it's going to be 1 or 2 story, it's still, especially with the height requirement now being taken up to 15 feet or 15 feet above Pike View, that 15 feet above Pike View literally means that all of our walkouts, which is the 3rd floor, could be infringed upon for that view. So now 2 stories of our homes could now be blocked by those homes. Even with that 65-foot buffer, think about what the size of those homes could be if they can be up to that 15 feet above Pike View. So I think Planning Commission took the right role or the right guidance here, and understanding that if all we did was just kept it to Pike View as the height requirement, that would mean that my main floor could still, I would see the top of a building, but I'm not going to see the back of a building, versus it all of a sudden now being another 15 feet. They're saying the 2nd story of my home could now see over a building. So I would like to take, I can appreciate the annexation. I think a lot of it is great. I know they're going to build back there sometime, but I think that requirement of 0 feet above Pike View should be recommended by Town Council. Thank you, by the way.
Thank you, Joe. All right. Anybody else wanting to address council? Okay, going once, going twice, seeing no movement. We'll close public comment at 8:04 p.m. Council, discussion?
So I have a question, Mr. Maloney.
Yes,
So the town used to have an intergovernmental agreement with the county as to things being annexed in the town, and that is now gone. My question is, what sort of uses would be allowed right now should that remain in the county and not come into the town?
Well, right now, the property is zoned rural residential, and, go ahead.
It's zoned ag.
Oh, is it zoned ag?
Yeah. Yeah, it's zoned ag.
Okay, go ahead.
So being in the Douglas County, it's zoned agricultural in Douglas County. So I believe their minimum lot size is about 2.5 acres.
Okay.
You're going to get residential or agricultural uses.
So if Mr. and Mrs. Norton went to the county to change the zoning, they could change it to any variety of things?
Yes, based off of what Douglas County would have to look at, and I'm guessing their master plan as well.
Okay. So we could potentially end up with Lord knows what, and because it would be in the county and not in the town, we would have no say in it whatsoever.
You are correct.
So kind of like if I drive down Jordan Road and that nifty 5 trillion story storage unit, the big orange one over there that's in the county, similar to that, where we couldn't do anything about the county having far less restrictions than we do, we end up with that on our border because they can do whatever they want and we have no say in it.
You are correct.
And I get where you're going with that, because as mayor, probably the number one complaint I get is why we allowed the 5-story storage unit to be built on Jordan when that storage unit would be illegal if it was on the other side of the road in the town of Parker, correct?
Yeah.
And on the northwest corner of Main Street and Chambers, the big, huge storage units that the county now has approved that are being built there would also not be allowed in Parker if it was on the other side of the road. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, that's,
okay.
What I'm getting at is, from a control standpoint, if it's not annexed into the town, we have essentially no say on what would happen on that property.
Right.
Because it's in the county.
And so potentially that height could be much higher than that 15 feet that our requirement is set at. So I basically had the same question as Councilmember Martin, so if it were to stay.
Mr. Rivero, did you have anything?
If it, and just speaking from your knowledge again about the county, if it did go in front of, if we said no and the Norton family decided we need to develop, this is our nest egg, it's our private property, we're going to develop this, and they went to the county, would that be an administrative approval by your knowledge, or would that go in front of the county commissioners?
I believe it would have to be rezoned to allow a commercial development or even multifamily on the property, so that would be a public hearing.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. Renee, did you have anything? Debbie?
I just know if there's less restrictions in the county, if that's what occurs.
John?
I think the only thing I have, Charlie, you mentioned, we'd love it to stay ag. And as development occurs, I think everybody who has a piece of vacant land that somebody else owns would absolutely love it to just stay the same. But unfortunately, it sounds like the Nortons are motivated to do something with this. And everybody, which is their right. It's a personal property right. I think the question or the struggle we have is we know what they want to do, and we've engaged them and got to this point. If we say no, they can go someplace else, and they can get something more onerous, I think, to our citizens than if we just consider this. So, for me, that's what I'm considering right now.
Okay. Well, with that, Council, you've got 4 items in front of you. They all have to be handled individually. I'd entertain further discussion or motions on them, please.
I move to approve resolution number 18-090.
Second.
Motion by Josh Rivero and a second by Josh Martin. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next item.
I move to approve ordinance number 2.265 on second reading.
Second.
Motion by Amy and a second by Renee. Council, please vote.
Clear out.
Nope.
Oh, all right, we're going too fast. All right, there we go. Now, council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next item.
I move to approve ordinance number 3.339 on second reading.
Second.
Motion by Renee and a second by Josh. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. And the last item, item A4.
I move to approve the Norton annexation agreement.
Second.
Motion by Josh and a second by Debbie. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next item up is item 8B. This is resolution number 18-088. This is a resolution to adopt an update for the Parker 2035 master plan. And Carolyn, you're going to be our leader tonight? All right. Floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor and Town Council. Tonight I'll be presenting an overview of the Parker 2035 Master Plan updates. Staff proposes to update the master plan to include minor revisions to the plan and to the general land use map. The 2035 master plan consists of 15 chapters that serve as a statement to town policy, a guide to decision-making, and a framework for more specific planning. The master plan is not a zoning ordinance, a land development code, or a specific development plan. The master plan serves as a 20-year policy document that provides vision and direction for land use, community appearance and design, housing and neighborhoods, and transportation. Town Council adopted the 2025 master plan in 2005 and subsequently updated and adopted the 2035 plan in 2014. The master plan addresses the state's requirement for cities and towns to make and adopt a master plan. It also provides a framework for decision-making and direction for growth and development. The plan is a living document that is updated from time to time. Community outreach for the 2018 update included a public notice that was published in the Douglas County News Press. The red line document was posted for public comment on the town's website, followed by a press release and social media and Facebook postings. A community open house was held on November 7th and it was well attended. To summarize the proposed minor revisions, in Chapter 2, the urban growth boundary has been renamed as the Parker Planning Area, and information on the Douglas County IGA has been removed. In Chapter 4, we've added references to the Transportation Master Plan. Sorry, let me go back. The Parks and Recreation Open Space Master Plan, and we've added a section called Town Council Policies regarding the plan. In Chapter 6, we've updated the land use map to include references to the Main Street Master Plan area and the Parker Planning Area. The character areas in Chapter 6 were also updated. The downtown core and the east downtown gateway character areas have been consolidated into the Main Street Master Plan area. Land use for the character area will focus on mixed-use development to promote a pedestrian-friendly environment and high-quality development that emphasizes streetscapes, building heights, and high-quality architectural design. The Neighborhood and Community Center section has been updated to provide guidance for future commercial development at intersection corners in areas designated as a commercial center or a community center. Based on Parker's development patterns for commercial development, the Neighborhood Center has been updated, and staff recommends that the master plan be amended to show 33% or 8 acres of a total land area be zoned and developed for commercial use at key corners of intersections. This is an example of a neighborhood center at the corner of Jordan Road and Main Street. For the community center section, staff recommends that the master plan be amended to show 33% or 20 acres of a total land area be zoned and developed for commercial use at key corners of intersections. Mixed-use zoned areas will be 33% commercial, which can be reduced if the parcel is developed as a vertical mixed use. This is an example of a commercial center at Stroh Road and Parker Road. Chapter 10 has been updated with the new strategy to ensure that the new Complete Streets policy is utilized, and we've also added a reference to the Transportation Master Plan. Chapter 13 references the new Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan that was completed earlier this year. Staff recommends that Town Council approve the resolution to adopt an update to the Parker 2035 Master Plan. Are there any questions?
Council, any questions?
Nope.
No questions, but I'll make a statement. I think that this is outstanding. I think we're doing exactly what we're supposed to do. There's a lot of talk during the election, and we should update this more frequently. And obviously, as those that managed to stay in the room can see, we do update it.
Our new council members, I think, have already left. So
we do update it, and it is a living document, and it is dynamic with the times. And I truly appreciate all the work that has gone into the updates here.
Thank you.
All right. Other questions? None? All right. We'll open it up for public comment at 8:15 p.m. if there's anyone here wishing to address council on the master plan updates. Seeing none, we'll close public comment at 8:16, and I'd entertain further discussion or a motion, please.
I move to approve resolution number 18-088 as a part of the it's not a consent agenda. What am I doing? Where am I at? On second reading.
There you go. Thank you, John.
Second.
We have a motion by John and a second by Debbie. Council, please vote.
I'm just testing us.
Yeah, just messing with us.
No, I'm not.
Motion passes unanimously. Next item up is item 9A. These are our ordinances, and council, we're going to have one presentation on 9A sections, or 1, 2, and 3. But again, there'll be 3 separate motions needed for that. So what we've got is this is for Compark Village South. Number 1 is ordinance number 9.252.3 on second reading. This is a bill for an ordinance to approve the Third Amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between the Town of Parker and the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas regarding the design, construction, and maintenance of Belford Avenue, Peoria Street to Compark Village South Improvement Project. Number 2 is resolution number 18-091. This is a resolution to amend resolution 17-020.2, series of 2017, to extend the expiration date of the minor development plat for Compark Village South filing number 1 through December 31st, 2019, and approve the subdivision agreement for Compark Village South filing number 1. And number 3 is resolution number 18-092, which is a resolution to amend resolution number 17-064, series of 2017, to extend the expiration date of the final plats for Compark Village South filing number 2 and Compark Village South filing number 2, amendment number 1 through December 31st, 2019. Alex, you're going to lead us through that, and don't make me read it again.
I won't.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As stated, these 3 items all involve the Compark Village South development, as the developer is requesting extensions to project approvals due to delays associated with federal permitting issues.
No, sorry.
For background, Compark Village South is located between Peoria Street and Chambers Road, south of E470 and north of the Grandview Estates subdivision. It's proposed as a mix of residential and commercial uses. Final plats have been approved by the town for the 3 initial filings within this development. Filing number 1, which you can see on shown in yellow on this graphic, proposes to construct the major roadways, utilities, intersection improvements, and drainage infrastructure that will serve the entire development. Filing number 2 and filing number 2 Amendment 1, which are shown in the blue block there south of the roadway, are proposed as residential developments that are dependent on the infrastructure to be constructed in filing number 1. The plat approvals for these 3 filings and their associated agreements are currently set to expire on December 31st of this year. These approvals have previously been extended by the council. However, this project has not yet moved forward due to delays in the project related to federal permitting required to complete drainage way improvements that are required with the project. A little history on that. Back in 2012, prior to beginning the entitlement process with the town, the developer obtained a non-jurisdictional ruling from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers regarding a drainage way named Green Acres Tributary. This ruling essentially meant the Corps of Engineers would not require any individual permits for the drainage way improvements within this drainage way. However, this ruling was good for 5 years. It expired back in 2017, which required the developer to reapply to the Corps for a new ruling. The Corps has since reversed course, taken jurisdiction of the drainage way, which requires the developer to go through a lengthy permitting process to construct these drainage way improvements. Town criteria requires that all applicable federal permits be obtained by developers prior to beginning construction, so this issue must be finalized with the Corps before the town can issue any construction permits. The developer is present tonight to provide an update on this process, but it is very unlikely that this will be resolved prior to December 31st. In order to allow the developer time to complete the permitting with the Corps, he has made 3 separate requests before council tonight. First, to amend an IGA between the town and Douglas County regarding the off-site infrastructure associated with filing number 1. Access to the development will be provided via Belford Avenue, which is a new collector roadway that will connect through unincorporated Douglas County to Peoria Street. This IGA with the county codifies the maintenance responsibilities for this new roadway between the town and county and contains a clause that terminates the agreement if the project does not move forward by December 31st of this year. The proposed ordinance in item 9A1 would amend this date for 3 years to December 31st of 2021. Because this arrangement between the town and county is unlikely to change, regardless of when the development happens and the roadway is constructed, both county staff and town staff concur that extending this for longer than 1 year would make sense just to accommodate further delays that may happen in the project. Again, county staff does support this amendment, and it will be scheduled for the Board of County Commissioners pending council approval in January of 2019. The second request is to extend the expiration date of the minor development plat of filing number 1. This plat will expire on December 31st of this year if the plat and associated subdivision agreement are not recorded. The resolution in item 9A2 proposes to extend that expiration date to December 31st of 2019. The resolution also includes a revision to the public improvements cost estimate for the project that was originally approved back in 2017 to reflect the increase in construction costs over the past few years. It also includes an increase in the amount of a cash in lieu payment for a traffic signal to reflect construction cost increases the town has seen in that element over the past few years. The third and final request is to extend the expiration dates for the filing number 2 and filing number 2 Amendment 1 plats. The residential filings cannot proceed until filing number 1 moves forward, so the resolution in item 9A3 proposes to extend these 3 expiration dates from December 31st of this year to December 31st of 2019 to match that expiration date proposed with filing number 1. Per town code, the council can grant extensions to final plats if it determines that the requests are in the public interest. In this case, the regional infrastructure proposed with this project serves the public interest and may meet this criteria. Town staff does recommend approval of these items. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. As I mentioned, the developer is also present to provide an update and answer any questions you might have for him.
Okay.
Thank you.
Council, any questions? No? Okay. Michael, would you like to come up? Name and address for the record, please.
Super flawed one.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Michael Vickers. I'm with MPV Compark Management. I'm the developer for the Compark South property. My address is 507 Clayton Street, Denver, Colorado 80206. I'm happy to answer any questions. This is a rather complicated series of requests we've had. The bottom line is we still have a home builder and Century under contract to move forward with the project. We have continued to work with Urban Drainage and the Corps to resolve this issue, but it has taken time. Our objectives are to finish it so that we can move forward with the project.
Is there, Mr. Vickers, any update from the Corps, any nuggets of?
Well, we've made good progress with the Corps in the sense that they have determined that they would support a cash in lieu payment and have Urban Drainage construct the drainage improvements that are the Green Acres tributary improvements. They're supportive of the our designation. It's a really degraded channel. But unfortunately, the non-jurisdictional determination letter did expire, and we are having to go through the IP process. We've had numerous meetings with Urban Drainage and their consulting group. We're in the process of working through that process, and at this point, feel very optimistic that we will complete that process successfully, which would result in a cash in lieu payment to Urban Drainage, and they then would construct those improvements. So while it's not completed, I believe that it's been positive. And as I said, the home builders have been engaged with us in these meetings and feel like we haven't lost them in terms of being under contract. The market remains good, and so we're hopeful that we can move through this and complete the project.
Thank you for sharing, Mike.
Sure.
Other questions? No? Thank you very much.
I would like to just take this time to thank Commissioners Martin and Holland. Thank you very much for your service. Enjoyed working with you and wish you the best.
Thank you.
All right. We'll go ahead and open it up for public comment at 8:25 p.m. if there's anyone here wishing to address council on these three items. Okay. Seeing none, we'll close public comment at 8:25, and council, with the three items, I would entertain further discussion or separate motions for each one.
I move to approve ordinance number 9.252.3 on second reading.
Second.
Motion by Josh Rivero, second by Josh Martin. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next item.
I move to approve resolution number 18-091.
Second.
Motion by Debbie and a second by Amy. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. And on the next item?
I move to approve resolution number 18-092.
Second.
Motion by Amy and a second by Josh. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. So for the next three items, items B, C, and D, I'm going to ask Mary Lou to give one presentation for those three items. I'm going to go ahead and read them all in three separately, just like we've been doing, and then we'll need discussion and motions on them individually, but we can do them in one presentation. So the three items, item B is ordinance number 9.280 on second reading. This is a bill for an ordinance to approve the second replacement intergovernmental dispatch services agreement. Item number C is ordinance number 9.281 on second reading. This is a bill for an ordinance to approve the second replacement intergovernmental agreement by and between the town of Parker and the city of Lone Tree concerning certain services and evidence storage. And D is ordinance number 9.282 on second reading. This is a bill for an ordinance to approve the intergovernmental agreement by and between the town of Parker and the city of Lone Tree concerning vehicle fleet maintenance services. Mary Lou.
All right,
You've
good
got
evening, and thank you.
You've got your security guard with you?
I
You're
have my
ready to-
security guard with me, and I think I have my fleet mechanic here somewhere.
All right.
All right, so we do have three IGAs in front of council tonight for your approval. They were all negotiated with Lone Tree at the same time. That's why you see them structured very similarly to each other. The first one with dispatch is going to result in revenue in 2019 of just over $633,000. And it also includes an administrative fee, which is the first time I think we have standardized that thought of the administrative fee in our IGAs. The administrative fee in the first agreement is a 10% fee and limited to no more than $75,000. The actual revenue that the town will be receiving is based on 38% of the calls for service.
So Mary Lou, just before you continue on, for those in the audience who kind of have no idea what this means, or those watching on Facebook, we provide services specific to police department, in this case dispatch, the city of Lone Tree, I love to say this, the city of Lone Tree pays us to provide these services to them, correct?
That is correct.
All right,
And
thank you very
I didn't
much.
do my job very well by pointing that out. The second IGA that's in front of council tonight is in regards to evidence storage. This agreement is budgeted to bring in a little over $164,000 in 2019. And it also has an administrative fee of 10% up to a maximum amount of $20,000. And this agreement is based on 50% of the actual costs that we incur in conjunction with evidence storage. The third IGA that's in front of council is for vehicle fleet maintenance services. This one is set up just a little bit differently in terms of the administrative fee. Here, we have a lot of the administrative fees are already included in the shop rate, so we didn't want to double count them. That's why you see a lower percentage here. The amount of revenue that is budgeted to come into the town for 19 is just under $79,500. And with that, I'm going to stop.
Council, any questions for Mary Lou on these items?
I just said for Mary Lou or maybe for Jim, about the shop rate, can we talk about, as much as I like taking money out of Lone Tree, I don't like causing them to pay more taxes, if you will, and how do we come across the shop rate and what is the comparatives there? Make
So
sure
the
we're
shop-
not gouging the
Yep.
citizens of Lone Tree.
We are not gouging the citizens of Lone Tree. We are charging them what we charge our internal departments. So the shop rate is based on the actual expenses that Jim and his team incur. On an actual basis, this rate of $103 an hour is based on 2017 actuals, if I remember right. So it is actually based on our actual rate, and again, is what we charge our internal departments who take vehicles to fleet maintenance also.
One of the things that I did in 2017 was take all of our shop fees, our labor costs, all the soft-related costs that you don't typically see in a, a repair bill, allocate those based on the number of hours that we actually bill out so that we could create our base labor rate. There is no, we're not getting rich off of them. We want to make sure that we're breaking even. We want to make sure through the 3% admin fee that we have the ability to take care of the HR functions and other finance functions within the town that we use as part of that agreement.
Excellent. And can you or somebody talk a little bit about the cooperation and how it does save overall the citizens' dollars on both towns?
Yeah, both towns do benefit from this in the regards that we have one staff member that is used primarily for Lone Tree, but we also are able to use them on our own equipment when they're not working on Lone Trees. We are at a capacity where we would need almost 4 total heads, or 4 total employees to do all of the work that we have, but we can use them to offset that by doing Lone Trees.
Excellent.
Lone Tree benefits because they don't have the resources of a shop. They would have to construct that or bring their equipment out to a subcontractor to do that work. The other thing that we also do for Lone Tree is manage all of their fleet assets from a lifespan and what maintenance is done on a piece of equipment so they can make better decisions on when to replace their equipment.
Outstanding. Thank you, Mr. Gillard.
All right, other questions? No? All right, thank you guys very much. We'll go ahead and open it up for public comment at 8:31 PM if there's anyone here wanting to address council on items 8B, C, or D. I thought we might have someone here from Lone Tree to talk about, us maintaining their Bugattis and their, Just kidding, just kidding. All right, seeing none, we're going to close public comment at 8:32 PM, and I will entertain further discussion and motions on each individual item.
I move to approve ordinance number 9.280 on second reading.
Second.
Motion by Debbie and a second by Renee. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next item.
I move to approve ordinance number 9.281 on second reading.
Second.
Motion by John and a second by Amy. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
I move, you ready?
Go ahead.
You ready?
Ladies first.
I move to approve ordinance number 9.282 on second reading.
Second.
Motion by Amy, second by Josh. Council, please vote.
Sorry.
received. Motion passes unanimously. Next item up is item 8E, or is this 9E, or whatever. Item E, this is ordinance number 9.283 on second reading. This is a bill for an ordinance to approve the intergovernmental agreement regarding the design of improvements to the High Plains Trail by and between the town of Parker and Arapahoe County Board of County Commissioners. Mr. Trapp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So kind of extending our role here on acting on IGAs, this item, as you spelled out, is the intergovernmental agreement, the IGA, between ourselves, town of Parker, and Arapahoe County. This IGA is really kind of a phased or rolling IGA, if you will. It will be amended over the next year or two to address a number of things related to the design, construction, or design, funding, and construction, and maintenance of the High Plains Trail. On the graphic up above, you can see, and I think council has been briefed by staff over the last probably 6 to 9 months on the project, so I won't go into a lot of detail. But this is a regional trail. Basically, we'll connect the existing trail along E470 all the way through Kings Point in the city of Aurora, and a grade separated overcrossing over Parker Road, and then the trail will drop down right in between the Norton Farms property and the 17 Mile House property. So it is a critical regional trail connection. The IGA, this particular portion of the IGA, or this phase of the IGA, addresses funding for the conceptual design and 30% engineering design for segments 1, 2, and 4. Segment 3 will actually be the developer of Kings Point, their responsibility to build that portion of the trail because it's adjacent to the future alignment of Aurora Parkway. The IGA has been reviewed by Arapahoe County Attorney's Office, Arapahoe County staff, and they are in agreement. We have invoiced Arapahoe County. The cost for this portion to complete the studies that are outlined in the IGA, the design and engineering, is approximately $200,000. So at this point, we are sharing that evenly with Arapahoe County. Next year, as the project continues to roll forward, we will bring in City of Aurora and Douglas County as part of the IGA to share additional funding for design, and then eventually, obviously, construction and long-term maintenance. So those are all kind of benchmarks when the IGA will be modified or amended. From a funding standpoint, we will be going after GOCO grant next year, probably in the amount of $2 million. We already have close to $500,000 that the E470 Authority has contributed towards the project. And as Mr. Dyack explained earlier, we have secured $2 million through DRCOG TIP funding. We were made aware of that last week. So that is it. I'll be short and sweet because of the hour, and turn it back to the mayor and council for any questions or comments.
Just before you guys go, just to clarify for again, those in the room, those watching, what GOCO funds are. That's the lottery money, right? That's the money that it can only be used, because I get it all the time when people hear the $2 million, you're getting a $2 million grant. Can we build let's build a traffic light in this road. GOCO funds can only be used for?
Great outdoors, Colorado.
Thank you very much.
Correct, and actually,
They didn't ask for traffic.
and just to clarify, this grant application for this trail through GOCO is very specific. It's called the Governor's Connect Initiative. So it's only for regional or significant trail projects.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, questions?
No, just a comment. I know, Dennis, I got involved in this on the E470 side along with the town years and years ago. So I think sometimes folks have the impression that these things just sort of occur and don't realize necessarily how long some of these projects take. So, we started working on this and finishing the obligation for E470. That was 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And this alignment we found on a document from, good Lord, decades ago.
Yes.
And so that's some of the reason these projects take so long, and then you get so many different folks involved, and it's just a a credit to everybody for sticking with this because these connections are so important to our trail network. So kudos that we keep pushing it along because 5 years ago, this was somewhat of a pie in the sky idea.
Correct.
So
That's correct. Actually, just to add real shortly, when I started in 1998, 20 years ago, literally the week I started, in my inbox was a letter from E470 wanting to talk about this trail connection. So it's been a 20-year odyssey.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Question, John?
Yeah, no, just to further, Councilmember Martin really played an integral role with the E470 funding. This is the United Nations of trails. Somebody said that, and I'm stealing it. I don't know who it was. It could have been Dennis Trapp. It could have been Jim Cleveland. I don't know who it was, but they are.
United Nations of Trails.
They're so right. I think we have like 8 agencies working together, and kudos to Mr. Trapp because he has been working on this, trying to find a route. It has been found. It has gone through, Centennial, Aurora, Arapahoe County, Douglas County, Parker. We're all working together because we see the value of making this connection. And this was the highest rated trail project. And typically speaking, we don't rate high on DRCOG TIP funding at all. And this project was the highest trail project with the limited funding that we had at the regional level. So it is a great testament to the final connection, and I can only hope that this thing gets done quick. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments?
A thank you to both Mr. Martin and Mr. Dyak for their hard work on this trail. As they both already clearly stated, it was an animal, and I think we've actually can finally see it caged, and I'm very, very happy as a former trail user.
And Dennis, for your perseverance.
And patience.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and open it up for public comment at 8:40 PM. If there's anyone here to address council on item 9E. Okay, seeing no movement, we're going to go ahead and close public comment at 8:40, and I'll entertain further discussion or a motion, please.
I move to approve ordinance number 9.283 on second reading.
Second.
Motion by Debbie and a second by Josh. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next item, which is 9F. This is ordinance number 5.82 on second reading. This is a bill for an ordinance to repeal in its entirety and readopt section 7.02.100 of the Parker Municipal Code concerning residential on-street parking permits and fees.
Thank you, Mr.
Rock
Mayor
and roll.
Council members.
Yes.
Recently, the town has received multiple complaints regarding excessive use of public streets, on-street parking stalls adjacent to single-family residential lots, and having cars consistently lining the streets presents safety concerns as well as an inconvenience to the residents. Currently, the code allows for residential parking restriction at the sole discretion of the police chief. But council has asked the Public Works Department to update the ordinance to provide a more effective procedure for residents to follow when they are facing these issues. Just briefly, I'd like to go over the revised procedure, talk about the permits themselves, and highlight some key changes to the ordinance. But if anyone has any more specific questions, I'd be happy to answer those as well. So once a complaint is filed with either the Public Works Department or the Police Department, we will evaluate whether an existing parking issue exists based on these standards. A consistent parking shortage is defined in the ordinance as 70% of available on-street parking spots being occupied for at least 2 hours per day, 3 days per week in front of at least 5 homes. The code also requires that multiple complaints or violations be filed in the last year. Once a parking issue has been identified, the Public Works Department will determine the proposed limits of the restricting parking area based on the following standards. The parking area can be no more than 1,500 feet away from what the code defines as a special generator. I'll get more into that later, but basically it's just a land use that generates excess traffic that would typically be contained on site. These areas are only permitted on streets with single-family driveway access, and they must contain either entire block or street lengths. We'd like to avoid parking zones ending in arbitrary locations. It would cause confusion for people trying to park, as well as making enforcement much more difficult. And the last item is, in order to qualify for a restricted parking area, there needs to be at least 10 residential dwellings. Our goal here is not to simply deal with these problems on a micro level. We would like to address the larger issue rather than just push them onto the neighboring streets. Once the area has been established, Public Works will send out a mailer and ballot to the affected residents to gauge community support. A 70% in favor vote is required to proceed to public hearing, and it's also important to note that any ballots not returned are counted as a not in favor vote. So it needs to be 70% of all residents, not just those who respond. If the results of the community outreach come back in favor, Town Council can adopt the permit via resolution. The permanent parking area via resolution. If Town Council adopts the permanent parking area, a final mailer is sent out to not only the affected residents, but adjacent residents as well, informing them of the upcoming parking changes. If we find that the parking issue persists on nearby streets, staff has the option to expand the parking area no more than 1 block or 300 feet. These minor amendments do not require council action, but are still voted upon by the newly affected residents. So on to the actual permits. They cost $20 each. That cost is prorated quarterly, and they need to be renewed at the police station every 2 years. Each residence can be issued up to 3 permits, and there are no conventional guest permits. Basically, the hangars that will be issued can be transferred to any other of your vehicles or authorized guests of your property. And one key distinction we'd like to make here is that the permits and the hangars are for you and for your guests. The permits can't be transferred to neighbors who have extra cars. They can't be sold to students or anything of that nature. The permits themselves are just plastic mirror hangers, that have the permit zone and serial number assigned to each address. Permits are paid for and issued at the police department. They will require a ID and proof of address, and they're set to expire on January 1st every 2 years. A couple key changes to the ordinance we wanted to point out. As I mentioned earlier, a special generator is a non-residential land use or activity that causes or may cause safety and vehicular congestion problems in a single-family residential area. The work and commercial vehicles, any vehicle that's rendering a service to a residence in that permanent restricted area is not subject to this ordinance. So landscapers, nannies, baby, house cleaners, they will not be issued a citation, and they do not need a permit. And the last update to the ordinance is permit restrictions are not permitted in subdivisions that have previously enacted parking restrictions. This includes HOAs that already have their own parking restrictions.
I'm one of the last ones. That means I can't get a cool little hanger for my mirror.
I know, I had a feeling you might say that. That concludes the presentation, and I can answer any questions that anyone might have.
Council, before questions, though, I would just like to really quick, I think this was Tyler's first presentation in front of town council. Good job, buddy. Yes. Everyone look around. Tyler represents the millennial vote here at employee base in town. No one got that, man.
Yeah.
Apparently no one cares if we have millennials who work here.
No.
All right, well, thanks, buddy. All right, questions?
So my only question, Tyler, is these go out to the properties that are affected in a particular zone. My question is, if it's a rental property, is it going to the owners? Is it going to the renters? Who is the onus on to return that? Because obviously not returning it is automatically a no vote, but if the owners don't live there and da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
So we will reach out to the actual property owner. We've looked at the assessor's website, and it'll be sent to the actual property owner. But if a tenant does live in the restricted zone, they are allowed to pick up the permits. The owner themselves doesn't have to come down, but the owner will vote.
Gotcha.
Okay. Other questions? Nope. All right. Since this is a public hearing, we'll open it up for public comment at 8:48 PM. If there's anyone here wishing to address council on residential parking permits. Oh, he moves. Dun, dun. All right, name and address for the record, please.
I think I wouldn't move, did
You know the routine. You know the routine.
You know the routine. My name is Stephen Curtis. My address is 22104 East Idlewild Drive, Parker, Colorado, 80138. Given the late hour, I'll be brief. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to speak. My comments really relate to two things. One is the number of permits. The ordinance absolutely restricts that to 3. I have a multi-generational household. For those of you who don't know what that means, my father-in-law, my elderly father-in-law lives with us, is also a driver. I also have children who at this point are not of driving age who live with me at home. I do have a number of children who are of driving age who no longer live at home but do visit. So suppose there's a problem for me with 3 licensed drivers in my home currently, 3 vehicles registered to my address. 3 seems rather an arbitrary number, and what I would ask as it relates to that is a modification that lists the number of permits to 1 per registered vehicle plus 1 what would be a guest permit. The second question relates to, you did mention, Tyler, those that are rendering services. So a landscape vehicle parked in front of my residence would be very obvious to an officer who would come by and issue a citation. My nanny, however, doesn't drive a vehicle that says nanny services, right? And so she would not obviously be present in her vehicle, wouldn't be coming and going to her vehicle, wouldn't be obvious to that officer that came by. And this is what poses a problem for me. As my nanny doesn't park in my driveway quite typically, to avoid the inevitable car shuffle that would occur as I and or myself and or my wife and or my father-in-law would return home and to get everyone in and out of my driveway. So as far as the ordinance goes, I'll reserve my comments as to whether it needs to be repealed or not, but I would ask for that modification. I think it only makes sense. I think it's fair for the folks who live there, who may have more than the 3 vehicles that the arbitrary number's been set out for. So again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Martin, thank you for your service to our town. It's been a pleasure. Ms. Holland, the same for you. I appreciate all your services to our town. I may or may not make the last meeting, and so this may be the last time I see you officially.
All right, thank you very much. All right, next up to address the council. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Terry Vosberg. I live at 12224 South Susan Court in Parker. And I want to thank the Public Works Department for working on this ordinance. I've been working with folks for a few years on this now, and you know my concerns. We've had a lot of safety issues, and just the fact I can't use my street very well. So I just want to say a big thank you for listening and helping us work through this problem. And I think the team did a great job. So thanks for supporting us.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else for public comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment at 8:51 PM. And Tyler, just to go over Mr. Curtis's questions, can you give a little bit of background on how 3 permits were determined, and then also how it's handled for unmarked service vehicles?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. We did some research with neighboring municipalities, and given the flat fee of $20 per permit and the fact that most of these, if not all these residents have a driveway, a garage, and obviously now the available on-street parking, we assumed that with the 3 permits, the spots in the driveway and the spots in the garage, that would offer more than enough for most residents. In regards to the unmarked nanny car, I would recommend either potentially parking in the driveway or, worst case scenario, if the nanny is issued a citation, as long as she can demonstrate that she was rendering a service, technically she would be in compliance with the ordinance, and the ticket would be expunged, I believe.
Okay. Thank you very much. Council, do you have any questions for Tyler?
Yeah, so how is the ordinance going to be enforced, if we could speak to that? I think that's the biggest key here is that the reporting parties know the cars in their neighborhoods. This is a reactive ordinance as opposed to a proactive ordinance, if that's a term. In the sense that if I see a car that's obviously a person that's parking in my neighborhood and doesn't live in my neighborhood or whatever may the case, I would then report that car. If my neighbors know that my nanny drives that Toyota Corolla, they're not going to report that car, correct?
That is correct. I've spoken with community services, and to use your term, this will be more of a reactive enforcement. They are not planning on patrolling every day like at Denver or Fort Collins or something like that. They will react to complaints, and also I'd also like to make the point that the tickets are not going to be, the police department is not planning on issuing citations right away. It'll be several warnings before an actual citation is issued, and the hangars themselves have serial numbers. Community services will have access to those serial numbers on the hangars, and they can verify the vehicles on site.
And Josh, just to kind of piggyback on that, it's also time limits in certain days. So for example, weekends and things of that nature are typically not sort of the time frame issue.
Yeah, the ordinance is intentionally vague on the timing. It's tailored to the special generator in question. So for a school, the signs in this case will be Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., excluding holidays and weekends. And obviously it can be tailored for a different use if school's not what's generating the traffic.
Okay. So outside of those bounds, no permits needed?
Correct.
Okay. Other questions?
In the ordinance, is there any recourse to a specific house if it asked for more than 3 permits?
Currently, there's not. There is penalty for obtaining a permit from another resident.
But if we did find a need, we could come back and revisit the ordinance and adjust if there was a situation where a house needed more than 3.
That is correct. Right now, we will be keeping track of each residence and how many permits are issued at the police department. But if we find that we have a number of residents that need more than 3 permits, we can come back to town council and seek a revision to the code to address.
Thank you.
Other questions? John?
Yeah, just a comment. This is a first attempt at this, and we did a lot of research. Kudos to staff. This is what we have, and I think we vetted it out quite a lot. Councilmember Rivera and myself at the Public Works liaison discussions. So, again, we're interested to hear any feedback, pro or con about this. So please, those who live there and around, hopefully you get the 70% so we can go on to the next level so it can be implemented. Once it's implemented, we would love to hear back from you to see how it's going on a regular basis. So thank you.
Okay. All right. With that, I would entertain a motion, please.
I move to approve ordinance number 5.82 on second reading.
Second.
Motion by Josh and a second by Amy. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Last item on our agenda, 9G. This is ordinance number 1.525 on second reading. This is a bill for an ordinance to levy general property taxes for the year 2018 to help defray the cost of government for the town of Parker, Colorado for the 2019 budget year. Mary Lou.
All right, be happy. This is the last time I'm in front of council with an official request related to the 2019 budget.
I was going to say, for the next, exactly. Throw that one in there, because for the next 2 weeks, and then we'll start out the whole process again.
We can do that. All right, tonight what is in front of council is an obligation that we have to meet with the county. We have to certify the mill levy rate that the county will collect on our behalf. So to kind of translate that, we let the county know how much we want them to charge the owners of the property here in the town of Parker. The mill levy rate currently is at 2.602. It is going to stay at that level because if it doesn't, we should have gone to a vote of the people. So this is standard that we would stay at this rate. The dollar amount for the revenue is included in the 2019 budget. There has been a change, though, to the assessed value, and that occurred this morning. For those of you who may have seen the item prior to that, the assessed value for the property here in the town has been decreased by about $1 million, which does impact the amount of property tax. But because of some of the adjustments that we make, I didn't see any need to change that revenue number. So with that, I will take any questions.
Okay. Council, questions for Mary Lou?
I hope it was my house that went down.
Went down $1 million? Yeah.
Can you speak to that before you scare everybody about the assessments going down already? Can you speak to why it went down $1 million? Do you know?
I don't know. They start with an estimate, just like we all do as we start working with our budgets and our numbers. So they just continued throughout the summer and the fall to true up that number, and this is where it ended up. Obviously, there are exemptions. There are the homestead exemptions that take place. So as they factor in all of those numbers, they're just getting down to a more specific amount.
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? No? We'll open it up for public comment at 8:58 or 8:59 p.m. if there's anyone here to address council. All right. Seeing none, we'll close public comment at 8:59. I'll entertain further discussion or a motion, please.
I move to approve ordinance number 1.525 on second reading.
Second.
We have a motion by Amy and a second by Renee. Before you vote, council, Chris, could we get the board cleared? No problem. All right, council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. With no further business before council, we'll adjourn at 8:59 p.m. And I'd like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas for you and your family. Stay safe, and in case you don't come in the next 2 weeks for our last meeting of the year, have a Merry Christmas, everybody.